This CEO is facing 40 years in prison.
I was gonna say some of the Atozy videos for later. Actually, I kind of want to swap around some stuff too, so we get some variety.
After he raised this CEO is facing 40 years in prison.
40 years in prison for AI company that just use humans. I'm sorry, what?
This CEO is facing 40 years in prison after he raised $50 million for his app, which he claimed to be powered by AI. But as it turns out, it might have just been hundreds of people working in call centers in the Philippines instead. So,
oh, how does that work exactly?
So our technology
How'd you pull that one up,
basically
Sherlock?
robotic process automation with the layer of AI.
Whoa, bro, it's like Walmart MatPat.
By AI, but
it's like actually Walmart MatPat, like game theory.
But as it turns out, it might have just been hundreds of people working in call centers in the Philippines instead.
So our technology is basically robotic process automation with a layer of AI on top of it.
But that's just a theory.
Is that every time that you ask Nate to buy something for you, Nate is able to go to that website, understand the HTML code, and take actions on your behalf.
Well, that was a lie. I mean, the fact that this man raised
$50
million to have people working in call.
Because now we know, and so it's like you can just like sort of sit here and watch him, be like, "Wow, he's just making all that shit up." It's just really going for it, huh?
As AI is flat out outrageous. But meet Albert Sanager, the former CEO of Nate, who has just been charged with fraud by the Department of Justice for what seems to be one of the most evident AI scams we've seen up to date. And definitely, this story isn't just one of those, my app uses some basic automation, but I'm calling it AI. No. Obviously, those are way more common now. But this is one of those, I told my investors my app was powered by revolutionary AI when it was just hundreds of underpaid workers in a call center type of fraud. And it all seemed to be
the
propped
original
up with
AI.
investor money and feel-good ads like this one selling the concept.
What was that? I don't get it. What's the point? Is it just an app that shoots confetti? What the frick?
I mean, hey, they went all in.
What was that?
It's an interesting concept, the way Albert went around running.
Not an interesting concept. What the hell was that supposed to be? What was it doing? It said holiday gifting, and that's all I saw.
This app has him facing 2 20-year prison sentences for this scheme. So Nate is an app that was founded in 2018, and from the beginning, it promised something that could be pretty revolutionary in the retail industry. It claimed to be a universal shopping cart that will let you buy anything from any online store with just one single tap.
Albert, what is Nate doing to offer consumers and retailers an alternative to the big e-commerce platforms, Amazon and Alibaba?
Nate is the first unified shopping experience. So as a consumer, having a Nate account allows you to share and shop your world without compromising your data. You could download the app today, set up your wallet, and use it to save or buy any product from any retailer and share shopping lists with your friends.
So imagine you're scrolling through some random website and you see a pair of shoes you like, or some clothes, hoodie, shirt, pants, or basically anything. Instead of going through the whole checkout process, filling out your shopping information, payment details, and all of that, you just hit the button in the Nate app and that's it. Order completed. The key selling...
Isn't that just PayPal? Most shops on the online thing just have PayPal. You just press PayPal and it goes, boop, I paid. Okay.
Point here that Nate's...
But it just takes my standard info from the PayPal.
Proprietary AI technology would automatically handle everything. Selecting sizes, entering your payment information, confirming the purchase, literally the whole checkout flow across any e-commerce website. But then on top of that, they also mixed in this social aspect where you could buy a shirt for your friend.
Okay, I get it. So you just say buy and it'll the AI will do the checkout and cash. You just click the button and you're done. I don't know. I like to verify the address on my even if you never know when they're like something's wrong or something like gets glitched. I don't know. I like to like double check everything, like make sure it's like, oh, hold on, wait, why is there like an extra $10? Oh, there was a thing on the cart that I didn't know was there. Okay, remove that.
Nate,
I don't know. That's just me. Maybe
it would then automatically get the correct size and it would be sent to their address without you even getting any of that information. Actually, this is a pretty good idea. It's just a shame that it was seemingly ran by an absolute grifter. But obviously, that idea, you're probably thinking that might sound a little bit too complicated to do automatically across thousands of different websites with different layouts and checkout processes back in 2018, especially when we consider where AI technology stood then. And if you thought that, yeah, you would definitely be right, because as it turns out, no magical AI was doing any of this. Because according to the Department of Justice, what was happening behind the scenes was that Sanager, he had hired hundreds of purchasing assistants at a call center in the Philippines who were manually completing all these orders. So every time a user tapped that buy button thinking that some advanced AI would be handling their purchase,
It was just some random guy in the
reality,
Philippines.
no, not so much.
It was just some random
It
dude.
was just a real human on the other side of the world filing out these forms.
Boop, 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 boop. Ayoo! Thank you so much for the follow. Muhammad, there we go. Muhammad, thank you so much for the follow.
And Sanager
I got
kept
it
this fact
eventually.
hidden from basically everyone, including most of his employees, claiming that the automation data
Welcome
that
to the
was a
treehouse.
trade secret and it couldn't be shared. And if you're wondering what the app's actual automation rate was, well,
You
according
wanna
to the
wait mono
DOJ
or mona?
investigation, it
You
was
choose.
nothing more than 0%. I mean, come on, it would be slightly better if they were using people to fill in the gaps on like less common shopping websites or something like that. But for Nate to actually have 0% of transactions automatically done, that's just straight up diabolical.
I'll shrink that, by the way.
Especially
That's
when
what
their
that was.
CEO
That was in the
these
middle of the screen. That was
podcasts
huge.
saying, we're using proprietary AI technology to fulfill all of this stuff. I mean, that is just highway theft to these investors. The audacity of Albert here is just laughably stupid.
I had to
To be fair, though, I feel like he still could have sold this if he was like, check it out, the world's first ever Pinot-powered app.
build sort of a research lab because we were tackling a problem
It's
that had
Pinot
not
powered,
been
come
solved
on!
before. I am technical enough to know who to hire, but that's sort of the extent of it. And so my first hire was not an engineer, it was actually a data scientist who's currently our chief scientist. He's phenomenal and worked with me for a few months. And then we hired our first engineer and then our second, and then we just kept building
He's
the
making
team.
all that shiz up.
But it was a lot of sort of
That's the
trial
best
and
part.
error for
It's
a
all
long
BS.
time until we figured out that we were able to crack it.
And by crack it, that's when he realized that they could just pawn all this off to some Filipino call center and call it AI. But this didn't stop him from going on to all these podcasts like he's some genius.
So I founded Nate with a fundamental principle that we would only use machine learning in the execution of tasks and not in the decision making. When you save an item to your Nate app, Nate goes to that website and extracts information such as the picture, the price, the options. When you hit buy, Nate goes to a website and
Nate is the Filipino guy who works at the center.
executes the purchase for you.
Right. So that was also a lie, and by it, you mean someone in a call center somewhere. But somehow, obviously, it got worse, because when it was revealed that he raised over $50 million with this lie, I mean, what do you even say to that? Over $50 million was spent on a fancy interface for a call center operation. This isn't Theranos level scale of fraud, but it's definitely up there. We're at about, what, I don't know, like 7% of the full scale of the Theranos fraud, which is still massive, clearly. And these weren't small investments from random people. They were major venture capital firms handing over millions of dollars based on the promises of groundbreaking technology, including Kosher Management and Forerunner Ventures, which both are multi-billion-dollar firms. But Albert occasionally admitted that there were some edge cases where AI might
Nah, son, see, now you're pissing off, I feel like, all the wrong people.
fail, but
What's
he
happening
insisted
there?
that most transactions were fully automated, but in reality, 100% of these transactions were being handled manually. And obviously, there's been suspicions about Nate's actual capabilities for a while now. Back in 2022, The Information published an article suggesting that Nate might have exaggerated tech capabilities for its investors. And this all happened during the pandemic e-commerce boom when fintech startups were super hot and investors just throwing money at anything that looked promising. However, it's taken until now for the FBI and the Department of Justice to gather enough evidence to bring charges. According to the indictment, Sanager did try to develop AI technology for his app. He acquired some tech from a third party and hired developers to work on it, but they never managed to get it working well enough to handle transactions. I mean, if only he sold
Got it, so they
this as
suck
like
at
a
their job.
remote shopper assistant app and not AI, he wouldn't be facing these insane charges. But instead of admitting his failure, he He just kept the manual operation, claiming it was all AI powered. And this is where I guess the fake it till you make it startup mentality crosses the line into criminal fraud. Because Sanager is now facing one count of securities fraud and another count of wire fraud, both which carry a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison. Potentially, he'll receive a total of 40 years in prison if he receives consecutive sentences. Acting U.S. Attorney Matthew Podolsky said Albert Sanager misled investors by exploiting the promise to allure an AI technology to build false narrative around innovation that never existed. This type of deception not only victimizes innocent investors, it diverts capital from legitimate startups, makes investors skeptical of real breakthroughs, and ultimately impedes the progress of AI development. And the FBI system director, Christopher G. Raya, was equally assertive, saying that Albert Sanager allegedly defrauded investors with fabrications of his company's purported artificial intelligence capabilities while covertly employing personnel to satisfy the illusion of technical automation. Sanager allegedly abused the integrity associated to his former position as the CEO to perpetuate a scheme filled with smoke and mirrors. And this story is particularly interesting right now because we're in the middle of this.
I have to say on at the end of that previous note, like, this absolutely is going to make some of the most major investors out there way more hesitant to genuinely help push any of this technology forward.
Massive AI hype cycle, because every company is slapping AI on everything they can, whether they're actually using any meaningful artificial intelligence or not. But there's a big difference between a company exaggerating what their basic automation tools can do and flat out lying about having AI tech when you're just using human labor in a foreign country on the other side of the world. I mean, even Amazon was caught doing something like this in their just walk out stores, where you essentially, grab your items and walk out without checking out, and your Amazon account gets charged later on. Apparently, they used to at least rely on a lot of people watching the footage manually and charging people accordingly. But this was back in 2021, so I'm unsure if this is still the case. But that's seemingly one of those moments where they're just using people to fill in the gaps while they're training up the AI. Nate is very different. But there's a whole term for this practice called the Wizard of Oz experiment, where users are made to think they're interacting with an automated system, when in reality, behind the curtains, it's just some dude there. However, most companies do this as a temporary testing method, not a way to fraudulently raise $50 million while claiming they've solved a massive technical challenge. And I feel like an interesting aspect of this case is from the user's perspective.
Have any of y'all actually used, sorry, I know he went past it just a sec, but have any of y'all used any of those freaking Amazon things? I went to one inside of a theme park where it's like, you basically it charges like a set amount on your card. You go in, grab your stuff, and then just walk out. And it supposedly refunds whatever the difference is or whatever the frick. And I gotta be honest, it was sketched out. I don't know if I got scammed or not. I'll be completely honest. That's still frustrating to me, and I don't think I'm ever gonna trust one of those things again. I don't know. You know what I mean? I'd rather just have a person there. Even a self checkout would be better than that. I don't know. And a security.
You tap a button and your order gets completed without you having to go through this whole checkout process.
So I don't know if I'm doing good or not.
Users weren't necessarily being scammed here, other than I guess having their information viewed by another human. And
getting a warning shot to the back of their head because I didn't pick and pay for something I thought I did.
So as a consumer, having a Nate account allows you to share and shop your world without compromising your data.
Psych.
You're gonna trust this guy?
On how the CEO was pitching it.
So as a consumer, having a Nate account,
he can't even get Nate to order him some socks. You gonna trust this guy? Look at that, no socks. Yuck.
Allows you to share and shop your world without compromising your data.
Psych. I know I used that clip earlier, but it's pretty entertaining. But back to my point, it was the investors who lost big from being deceived on how that convenience was being delivered. A fully automated AI solution would scale into millions of users with way less additional costs compared to a call center with human workers that scales, linearly. More users means more workers, training, and management overhead. So while the product might have worked fine for some users in the short term, the business model seemed unsustainable compared to what was being
It just doesn't make
promised.
any sense.
Also, it just doesn't look good on paper to be investing into some potential online shopping checkout sweatshop. And obviously, we don't know if it was a sweatshop or not yet, but if the users scaled rapidly, and they had to rapidly scale the amount of people that were doing the back-end stuff, that's how you get into sweatshop territory pretty quickly. For one thing, the technical challenge Nate was claiming to have solved sounds like something that was really tough. I mean, building an AI...
What are the odds that it wasn't gonna eventually turn into a sweatshop? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense that, like, you can only keep up the line for so long.
E-commerce site, understand different...
It reminds me of when Cartman in South Park turned into the AI robot, Osimo, and had to, like, keep up the charade for a long time with Butters.
Outflows, fill out forms correctly, and then handle all the edge cases. That was a massive challenge back in 2018. Probably still is now. It's the kind of problem that even the biggest tech companies in the world, with thousands of engineers and billions in R&D, hadn't solved by then. I don't know if they've even solved that by now. So the idea that this small startup had cracked this problem completely should have raised some eyebrows. It's not impossible, but you gotta be wary, apparently. But the U.S. Securities and Commodities Task Force and the Complex Fraud and Cybercrimes Unit are handling this case. Given the amount of money involved and the deliberate nature of deception, it seems unlikely that he'll just get off with a slap on the wrist. But who knows? Funny things can happen in the world of white-collar crime. But hey, other than that, if you're new here, feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Amazing video by Atozy. Please go and drop him a like, or drop him a sub, all that good stuff.
This CEO is facing 40
absolutely phenomenal. I didn't know about this freaking app. That's just freaking wild. But I'm telling you, bro, if he would have freaking sold this as a Pinot-powered app, that would have, I think he would have made a lot of money. I'm just saying. There's a market. There's a market for Pinot Power. Ayoo, Monodachi! Thank you so much for watching this video. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. You can also find links to the videos that we reacted to today down in the description below, along with my Oshi marks. I'll see you in the next video, Monos. Goodbye, and thank you so much for swinging by. Saru!